Welcome to the Every Mom is an Athlete podcast, where we believe that motherhood is inherently athletic. I see you lifting car seats, chasing toddlers, and carrying groceries one-handed while holding a baby and a coffee. Your daily life is a workout. I'm Dr. Karlie, pregnancy and postpartum expert, sports chiropractor, strength coach, entrepreneur, and mom of three. Here you'll find solo episodes and real conversations with other moms and leading experts, so you can live your strongest, healthiest, most aligned life in motherhood. No matter how long it's been since you've had your baby, whether you're reconnecting with your body, rebuilding your strength, or just figuring out what feels good again, you're in the right place. Hello, strong moms, and welcome back to Every Mom is an Athlete. I am excited to chat with you on a little solo episode this weekend. We are actually on vacation. We're out in Eastern Washington at a place that we bought back in 2020 during COVID when we just needed some room to get out of the city. And it is so lovely. It's a very much slower pace of life, and I just love being here. But that being said, I hope that you can hear everything because I am in a different closet today. Arguably, this is a bigger closet, so it's a little more comfortable. Before we get started, I just wanted to remind you, if you are newly postpartum, so if you're 6 months or less postpartum, and you are looking for a plan, you've been piecing things together, it's just not coming together the way you wanted, I would highly recommend checking out my postpartum plan. There's a C-section edition. I have helped hundreds and hundreds, I should really count because maybe it's thousands by this time, of women through this, including myself 3 times. And it's like a full body deal. So it's about 20 minutes a day. You're going to have arms, upper body, core, pelvic floor, getting the glutes strong again, really getting you feel confident to get back to all the other activities you like. So if you're newly postpartum and you haven't checked that out, go ahead, give that a look. You'll find the link below. All right, that being said, let's get into some of our postpartum Ask Me Anything questions. Also, I should mention, if you have a question, every Friday morning on my Instagram, I post a question box and you can ask me anything there. So people ask postpartum questions, pregnancy, fitness, mom stuff, all kinds of things. And then I always try to answer them on Instagram, but sometimes I get too many. So sometimes I'll get 2 or 3 and that's great. I can answer those. But sometimes I'll get upwards of 20 and then I just really cannot get to all of those. So then I just save them. We do an Ask Me Anything episode and hopefully you get your question answered one way or another. First question I have, how did you manage night feeds? I'm 3.5 months postpartum and baby still wakes up every 2 to 3 hours, sad face. So the first thing here is I think it's really important to remember what is normal for babies, right? So at 3.5 months, it's still really normal for babies to wake up 2 to 4 times a night. That's really biologically normal. And my kids, although my kids are all really great sleepers now, I sometimes forget that early on, I was one of the moms who was still waking up 2, 3, 4 times a night when lots of people's babies were sleeping through the night. And I always just tried to remind myself that this is a normal occurrence. And in other cultures, this isn't even a second thought. I just remember reading about other cultures and someone being asked oh, what do you do for sleep training? And those moms being sleep training, everybody knows that, sleep is horrible for the first year. And so I don't know, changing your mindset around it and knowing that it's normal, for me, that always helped a lot. That being said, there are things that you can do to try to get the baby to sleep a little bit longer, right? You're not supposed to start sleep training that early if that's a thing that you plan to do. But there are some things that you can do. So one thing that we always did was we did a dream feed. So if you're not familiar with that, let's say you put your baby down, you do their last final feed at, let's say, 7 o'clock. So then around maybe 10 o'clock, whenever you're going to go to bed, you'd go into their room and you'd do a dream feed. So they're basically still asleep. You just easily, quietly get them out. If you have a bottle or nursing, either way, you can do it. That way you can sort of skip through that early night wake up. So that's always my first recommendation because that was seriously just a game changer for me. God, love the dream feeds. The other thing I always noticed is that right around that age is when babies start to sort of get distracted, right? They're sort of waking up to the world. So all of a sudden you have this tiny little baby that you could just nurse anywhere or feed anywhere and they didn't know what was going on. And now all of a sudden they are starting to notice. So because of that, sometimes babies won't get such a full feed. They might get distracted, right? And so they're having a snack more than an actual meal. So what I always recommend trying is you're supposed to have about 5 to 7 full feeds throughout the day. So it's every 2.5 to 3 hours. But what I also recommend is you might have to go away from like the rest of the family. You might have to go to a quiet room, dim the lights, like make it really calm, make sure there's no TV or anything on because the baby is, like I said, waking up a little bit. And so you just don't want them to be as distracted, and that can be helpful. I know that we'll definitely have a sleep expert on in the future, but I know that there's all kinds of different ideas around wake windows. But my kids, I don't know what the deal was, but we subscribe to wake windows so much. And I could just like on the dot, like I remember all my kids really, like when they're that young, it's like at the 90-minute mark, they were like ready for a nap for that like first couple naps. So the wake windows for babies around that age are about 75 minutes or so to about 2 hours. And the reason you want to think about that is because if their naps are too short, right, they should be taking 3 or 4 naps a day, or if you're getting them to bed too late, that can also mess with them waking up at night. So it all plays together, like their sleep and their eating and all this stuff, it all kind of feeds off of each other. So those are the things that I would look at. Again, I'm not a baby sleep expert. Those are things that we always focused on with my kids, and it really did seem to help. All right, next question. What does your routine look like balancing work, kids, and workouts? So, as you might know, I have 3 kids. They are 6, 3.5, and almost 9 months. I cannot believe she's almost 9 months. And my work-life balance situation is probably a lot different than a lot of other people. So we do have an au pair. She lives with us. She helps about 40 hours a week of childcare. And that's not always just her. Sometimes that's her and me. So like she might take the kids or, my older boys to school and I might stay with the baby. She might be at home like folding their laundry while I take the baby out for a walk. So our routine looks like very different than a lot of families. That being said, I have learned to be just so flexible with workouts since becoming a mother. So I used to just have, specific time I like to work out. I had to get it done at this time. For a while it was like 5 a.m. For a while it was like mid-morning, 11 o'clock was my very ideal workout time. So I've just had to really learn that I have to fit it in when I can get it in. And sometimes that means with the kids. And so what I try to do is just be really flexible around like, okay, how many times a week this week do I want to work out? And I don't have everything like written out on like a spreadsheet or anything, but I look ahead to the week and kind of see what I have planned each day. I know that Mondays and Tuesdays I'm in my office seeing patients. So those days are always going to be harder for me to get a workout. But I also figured out like some pockets of time. Like, for example, my older son goes to jujitsu and his class is an hour and a half. And so on Tuesdays, I can drop him off at his class. I can go to the CrossFit gym where I coach. I can actually take a class, which I love doing, but I don't get to do very often. And then I can be back to pick him up in time. So that's like one day where I'm like, okay, on Tuesdays, I always get to do this. And that way I know I'm getting one actual CrossFit class in. Then I look at the rest of my week and I'm like, okay, this day is super busy. I might actually plan to do a workout while I'm at my son's soccer practice on the field. I'll bring my mat and like that will be my workout. I'll look at, when do the kids have things they're going to be gone for? When are they home? Like on those days when they're home, I could have just a lifting day because that's just way easier. We have a little home gym set up. I can be lifting and entertaining them. And it's not such a big deal if they're like, it's not like I'm on the Peloton, right? And I can't get off and help them and like do things. So that's what I kind of try to do is I say, okay, how many days do I want to work out this week? Where can I fit that in for sure and like get a good workout in? And then where can I fit that in where like the kids might be there or, it might just like be a little sloppy, but I can still get it done. And I'm always shooting for 4 to 5 times of something per week. So for example, like yesterday, I was going to take the day off and I was like, maybe I'll do a Peloton Pilates class, like just on my phone with the baby on the floor. So I tried to do that and then I got through 20 minutes of it and then she needed to go down for a nap. So I was like, well, you know what? 20 minutes is better than nothing. And so that's another way that I've just like figured out like it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to get in your perfect outfit with your perfect music and your all the things, which I know all you moms already know, but like you don't have to do that. You can bring your kettlebell. I do this very often into the playroom. And then I just write out a quick kettlebell workout and then I get done what I can while they're playing, And so I think just being flexible and learning that like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there is always going to be better than not doing anything at all. And then we can build on that. And as they get older, as things get a little more structured, then we can lean into that. I hope that's helpful. Next question. Is it too late to start now that my baby is already one? Big sad face. I'm assuming that this means like one of my postpartum plans or core rehab. So let's just sort of address all of those. My postpartum rehab plan is designed for moms who generally are 6 months or under postpartum. And the reason is it starts off just really basic. It starts with breathing, it starts with bracing. It's designed so that you can do it. If you had an uncomplicated vaginal birth, you could do it within the first week or two after giving birth. You could start it. The C-section plan, I always recommend waiting at least 2 weeks. Lots of women wait more than that. Lots of women wait 3 or 4, but it is gentle enough that you could start it that early. So that being said, if you've been working out for the past year and your baby is 1, it might be too easy for you. If you haven't been working out, like if you're like, I haven't done anything besides walking, I haven't done any core work, I didn't do any rehab, then for sure you could start there. And then, so say the first set of week 1 and 2, maybe you do it through once and you're like, okay, that was enough. Now I'm going to move on to week 3 and 4 because that first 1 or 2 weeks was a little bit too easy. So there are ways to sort of modify this, but it's never ever too late to start postpartum rehab. I actually designed another plan. It's called Fix Your Abs, and it's designed for moms who are 6 months or more postpartum, but just who didn't really do any core work. And so now they're like, I really want to fix my core, but I'm doing all this other stuff. Maybe they already have a workout plan. So that's a good addition because it's just like 10 minutes a day of core, I think 3 or 4 times a week that they could add in, right? But I always recommend, even if you are at a year postpartum, you've got to start with the basics. You've got to start with breathing. You've got to start with bracing. You've got to make sure that you've got your pelvic floor and your diaphragm and your core and everything coordinated and working together. And that way, you're building a good foundation. Even if it's been a little bit, you're still building that really nice, strong foundation. And then you're just going to be able to ramp up a little bit quicker than if you were brand newly postpartum. And remember, plans like this, while they are designed by me and I have years and years of helping women with this, if there are special cases, you can always reach out to me because we could tailor a plan just for you. So never hesitate to ask me. And if I'm not the right person for you, lots of times I could lead you in the direction of someone maybe near you. If you wanted to get in to see someone, I am always more than willing to help find a provider near you if that's what you need, or help tailor a plan for you. So never hesitate to reach out. Next question. I'm currently 4 weeks postpartum. How can I start working on the quote unquote shelf and fixing everything? I think she's talking about having a C-section and having that C-section shelf. So let's address that and we'll just pretend like that's what she means because I'm fairly certain that's what she means. So I did have a C-section, my second birth, and I have helped lots and lots of women with their C-section recovery. And it is just a little bit different. I redid my whole postpartum plan after my second birth because I was like, oh, there are things in here that C-section moms cannot do right away. Like, as an example, just like Superman's, right? Where you're laying on your stomach on the floor and you're rising up to work your low back muscles. Now, for someone who had an uncomplicated vaginal birth, that is really not a big deal at like 2, 3, 4 weeks postpartum. With a C-section, it is. You're still not going to probably feel very comfortable being on that scar, and you're going to feel real hesitant to be doing that movement. So obviously, like those kind of moves aren't in there. But what you can do is you can start working on C-section scar mobilization as soon as it begins to heal. And honestly, even before the scar starts to heal, you can be doing some desensitization. So basically what that means is you just take your fingers and you're just like lightly touching or rubbing around the scar, not even on top of it. What you're doing there is you're just sort of waking up those nerves because they've been cut through. And so lots of women will have numbness there. It'll just feel like really weird. And so you're just starting to like kind of like wake up that area a little bit. Now, once the scar has started to heal, which usually happens around 6 to 8 weeks, sort of that outer tissue is healed and you can start mobilizing it a little bit, then you can start working on the actual scar. So you can rub right on top of it. I have patients sort of like push and pull and just lightly start moving that. And it's really important because you can imagine, think if I take my shirt and I like twist up a piece of my shirt, right? You see that twisty kind of pull of the fabric near it, but it's actually pulling all the way around. And so when I describe the C-section scar, it's really similar, right? Like it's a scar on the front, but it can cause issues all the way around your core, into your back, down the road, especially if we don't address it, because now those tissues just aren't moving and sliding and gliding around each other like they used to. And so it is important that we get them moving. But I also like people to remember those deeper layers of connective tissue are going to be healing much longer than that kind of 6 to 8 weeks. So up to 1 year, your scar can actually still be healing. So just know that that's normal. If you're feeling like pulling or sensitivity around the scar, especially even up to like 6, 8 months, that's really normal. And it just means you want to keep working on it. You want to keep strengthening around it. And you want to work on kind of resensitizing that area so it functions more like normal skin and fascia and everything like it did before. Now, I guess I just sort of went off on a tangent about why you should be working on your scar. But by working on the scar, you're also going to be working on that C-section shelf, okay? So that like little overhang. So for lots of moms, that doesn't completely go away, but we can decrease it so much. And for lots of moms, it does go away. So everybody is different, but we do definitely want to work on the scar and all the tissue around it as soon as it's safe. So generally around that 4 to 6 week mark. Of course, a C-section, whether it's planned or not, is major abdominal surgery, right? So even though I design a plan that's able to be started as early as 2 weeks, that does not mean that you have to start it then. As I mentioned before, lots of women who have C-sections feel more comfortable waiting a few more weeks. It's like the real crazies like me. I just wanted something that I could start as soon as possible because I knew how much better I felt getting started early. Just having the control, having a plan, being able to like get out in the gym and like do some breathing and bracing and just easy, simple glute and core work felt really, really good. And it wasn't overdoing it to the point where anything was bothering me or hurting or any of that sort of thing. So you need to listen to your body. But if you are feeling ready to start that stuff sooner rather than later, even with a C-section, just know that you do want to start off with the breathing. You do want to start off with the bracing. You do want to start off gentle and build that foundation so that once you hit that 6-week appointment or once you're starting to feel better, you can really start to get back into some of the more fun, sexy, strength-building activities that you want to get back to. That's it for me on this Ask Me Anything episode. If you love this format, I would love for you to send me your questions, big, small questions, whatever it is. I'm so happy to answer them. And remember, there's no such thing as a silly question when it comes to your body, especially when we're talking about pregnancy and postpartum. This is just a foreign world to so many of us. And so you deserve real answers, and there is no silly question. Thanks for listening, and we'll chat next time.
Thanks for listening. Every Mom is an Athlete isn't just a podcast. It's a reminder. Motherhood is athletic, and you're still the athlete you've always been. But it's not about going back. It's about moving forward intentionally and powerfully. If this episode resonated with you, I'd so appreciate it if you'd share it with a friend, leave a quick review, or rate the show. It helps more moms to hear what they need to believe, that every mom is an athlete. See you next time.